Hi, Steve Hayes here, and welcome to Days Are Getting Better, episode number 25. And before I even get into the episode, that's a big number, and I just want to acknowledge the journey that we've been on together. In today's episode, what I'd like to talk about is life after the DSM. We've been living for half a century inside a top-down normative categorical system that promises, if you just focus on what people complain of and what you see and put them into loose collections, that we're going to figure out where these things came from, how to change them, and why it changes. And when they do change, how that change happens. And when we have all of that, then we'll really have made a great step forward in discovering the latent diseases that explain mental disorders. Unfortunately, after half a century, that project has failed. There's no other word for it. When not even a single syndrome is turned into a disease, when all of our trajectories in terms of the prevalence and incidence of mental suffering of this kind of getting worse, not better, and when our ability to change these chunks that we call disorders have not improved or even become weaker. It's time to say enough is enough. You've heard that from me before, but what I want to talk about in this episode is what life will look like afterwards. And I have a proposal to make, which is that it will look much more interesting and useful if we focus on the actual change trajectories of the people that we're serving and working with, and how change happens, one person at a time, collecting people into subgroups if and only if they explain more about the individuals that we're working with. And when I say individual, I don't mean a single individual. It could be individual couple, individual family, individual organization, but not throwing everybody into a collective that's arbitrary, creating a bell curve, and claiming that where you are in that bell curve predicts your future. It doesn't. It can't. The mathematical assumptions that are needed, which are called ergodicity, if you want the technical term, are not met in psychological work, in the behavioral sciences, and the life sciences. They're not met. They're only met in a few areas of the physical sciences, where normal gases behave in a way that allow you to go from a bell curve to the individual. So life after the DSM has to be focused on the person and then collected into general statements, but only if they help us see the person even more clearly. Now, that's a song that you've heard before from me, more or less, and from those who are trying to take the ACT work and contextual behavioral science work into the area of process-based approaches, process-based therapy. Process-based therapy not as a new form of therapy, but a new vision for what evidence-based therapy even means. You've heard it before. There's even entire books written, including that blurry one called Learning Process-Based Therapy over my back shoulder, of myself, Stefan Hoffman, and David Lorscheid. But something exciting is about to happen, and this is the announcement of it. In 11 days from the moment I'm recording this right now, an app called MindGrapher will be made available inside an app called PsychFlex, and another one available in Dutch under a different name. MindGrapher will finally make this vision real, in the sense that line clinicians or intervention professionals of all kinds, coaches, nurses, teachers, etc., will be able to work with their clients to collect high-density longitudinal data, to look at how they cluster into networks and what correlates with what, done properly, done in a way that fits the statistical requirements of process to outcome relationships within the person. For the first time, we'll be able to say that this particular process for this particular person with this particular goal, which could be ameliorating a problem, could be pursuing a prosperity goal, is most likely to yield beneficial outcomes if it's able to be changed, if that process is able to be changed. In other words, the way that you approach work with individuals, if you're intervening as a professional, will finally be supported by scientific and measurement tools in the same way that you approach the people that you work with. When you're working with somebody, you're working with them, and you're looking at what is hanging them up, what is pushing them forward. And over the weeks or the times that you work with a person, you notice these changes. It enters into your formulation. If a person gets stuck, you try different things. You have reasons and ideas as to why they got stuck. If they're moving along, you try to think about how to even accelerate that, or at least make sure that it continues. Yeah, but that's not what our research methods are about. That's not what our stats are about. Our stats are often pre, mid, post in this collective group in a randomized controlled trial. And what you look at is a nice smooth curve coming out of the collective, and then you start looking at individuals who see you in practice, and it looks like a bowl of spaghetti. The bowl of spaghetti is far more real. It is how life is lived. It is not a smooth curve. People are complex. They fit together in a system. But you have to simplify that complexity, and you need science to help you do it. And so, for the first time ever, we're going to have those statistical tools and assessment tools lining up with that basic approach in empowering your clinical work, empowering your intervention work, and however you think about the work that you do in changing human behavior. And so I'm just beyond excitement. I've been working on this conceptually for 10 years, practically for 3, and almost every day for 2. Finally, it's here, it's real, it's going to be turned on Cyber Monday. And there's other really cool things that are coming along that will, how should we say it, make this an offer you can't refuse. Because we're trying to put together something that is so cool and has so many elements to it. Some of these exciting announcements will come in the next few days and in the early part of this launch. And so I'm just here to say the days are getting better. Number 25. Woohoo! Something really important is about to happen that I hope and I believe will give you a clear vision of what life is going to be like after the DSM. And if I'm right, it's going to be a lot better, more fun, and more validating for those of you who've yearned for statistical and methodological tools and ways of reaching out in the 24/7 world of our clients that doesn't require that you turn people into error terms and that you forget the particular needs and features and context of the particular people that you're working with. enough is enough. And it's time to take a fundamentally new direction in psychology and behavioral science. And I'm hoping you'll be part of that journey. That's a good number 25, no? Put an exclamation point on it. Peace, love, and life.